Go blue. Go blue. Sala blue. Where you dead? Where you
The country is in a disaster.
Emergency. 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 Ah. The country is in the disaster. Oh.
Who they rule this country?
I tell you, stop worshiping the politicians. They're all liars.
What are you talking about? Which politicians are liars?
All of them. Obi is a liar. Tinubu is corrupt. Atiku is very with you. All of them, okay?
Don't argue with me. This is my show, okay? This is my show. I don't allow anybody to defend my show. This is my show. This is my show, okay? You can get the heck out of this room. Baba, this is my show. Get the heck out of this room. I don't handle defeating my kitchen.
I am saying it categorically. All of them are liars. All of them are thieves. Abba!
Go blue. Go blue. Sala blue. Where you dead? Where you Go blue. Sala blue. Where you dead? Where you
The country is in a disaster.
Emergency. 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 Ah. The country is in the disaster. Oh.
Who they rule this country?
I tell you, stop worshiping the politicians. They're all liars.
What are you talking about? Which politicians are liars?
All of them. Obi is a liar. Tinubu is corrupt. Atiku is very with you. All of them, okay?
Don't argue with me. This is my show, okay? This is my show. I don't allow anybody to defend my show. This is my show. This is my show, okay? You can get the heck out of this room. Baba, this is my show. Get the heck out of this room. I don't handle defeating my kitchen.
I am saying it categorically. All of them are liars. All of them are thieves. Abba!
Hello, everybody. Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. And how are you guys doing out there? This is Code Blue in Nigeria, and this is Sala Blue. On this talk show, we hammer down on politics in Nigeria. As this is the most exciting thing you can ever talk about. Look, in the bar, in the sport bar, everywhere you are around, two things mainly people want to discuss. If you don't talk football, then you talk politics. And on this show, look, it is politics. On some other show, Sala Blue, we'll be talking football. Yeah, but on this show is politics. And Nigerian politics is so messy that we think there is code blue in Nigeria. All right. How you doing, guys? How you doing, everybody? You see, yesterday on the daisies of the day of rage, or perhaps say on the day 7 or day of rage, because today will be day 8. If I'm calculating very well. Now, the protesters, as we told you earlier, are confused, completely don't know what they're doing. And it's crazy, because as much as I really love people to voice themselves out during the protest, I think this one is just a sham, okay? It's just a sham, Now, yesterday we discussed Oshomole interview on Arise News, and how he was discussing the faceless, nameless leaders of this particular protest. Some of them responded, and I will play the response. But first, let's listen again to what Oshomole actually said about these nameless, faceless leaders of the protest.
These people are faceless and that they wanted regime change. I listened to all these names you mentioned, plus others. I don't know them. You can't say I know them because you know them. Now, which Nigeria does not know Wole Soyinka?
I wonder.
Who didn't know Ganifa Me of Blessed Memory?
I wonder.
Who doesn't know Femi Falana? You see, the issue of we know some individuals. How much trust do those individuals command?
And that is the bottom line. And this is where I'm coming from. Okay. And that is why I asked originally, before this particular protest began, that Peter Obi should try as much as possible to be the face of this particular protest. Because we need some kind of a reputable names. Because it's all about trust, bonds. You can't just have any Dick and Harry, commands the country to go on a protest. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. You hear him mention Gani Fayemi, during his days, Femi Falana, even disassociated himself from this particular protest. If Femi Falana says he doesn't know what is going on, he's not part of the organizers of this protest, and this is when this is completely sham, this is nonsense. This is politicized from the beginning. And besides, the idea that it is being politicized, it's been organized by miscreants online. Yes, including Omoyele Sowore. Yes, including Omoyele Sowore. And I'm starting today's show from that point. Okay? Because this particular interview actually highlighted his name. Okay? And here is some of the things this guy said about him.
In the bar of the average Nigerian, those people carry sticks in Kano.
You know Sowore?
Those
And that is the point where it's become a laughing point, because Rufai Oseni, simply in his little minute brain, think that because Omoyele Sowore is so popular on social media, that suddenly means that everybody in Nigeria knows him. You wonder why this guy hasn't won any election? Simply because nobody knows him. Yes, he is popular on social media. He is popular in the urban area, in the school settings. That is, if you are only addressing the student union. Majority of people in schools, in colleges, in universities in Nigeria don't vote. I was a college student, a university student in Nigeria once. I know throughout my days, I was an adult in the university. I didn't vote. And many of my friends the same. Many of us. Are you kidding me? Most students in Nigeria don't vote. Yeah, Omoyele Sowore is popular on social media. It's popular with students. It's popular with every one of these young people that have access to social media. That don't give you votes. And stop shitting yourself around and telling people that you won some election. The election is a sham because you lost. Nobody knows you, period. Get out of that minute brain of yours and think big, for God's sake. No, Omoyele Sowore, nobody knows you unless someone who is a scholar or somebody who is actually monitoring Nigerian political system closely. But when you actually narrow it down to real Nigerians, the real most populous Nigerian that actually take part in votes, I want Yalaka, I want Yalebo, I want Yalata, I want Meti, Kawa. All these people don't know Sowore. And these are the people that actually vote. Surprisingly, shockingly, most elites in Nigeria, the educated ones, those undergrads in colleges and universities, they do not vote. How many times do I have to tell this to you guys? Get into your score. Many of you agitate. Many of you want things to change, but you don't vote. Our young people don't vote. They love to anger themselves, but they don't participate in the electorate. These are your fans. These are the people who love you, Omoyele Sowore, but they do not turn up when they need them to vote. And the same thing goes with Peter Obi during the last election. Most of the people who support you are majority of them in Nigeria electorate. They don't even register to vote, let alone vote. I don't know how else do I need to explain to you. Many of the young people do not vote. let alone majority of the people that are actually clamoring for Peter Obi in the last election are minors, not aged enough to vote. How can you guys not be able to analyze your own electorate and yet you want to win election? This is not difficult. Analyze your electorate and understand where you need to get real people to venture into voting for you. If you don't have that, you can cry from here to Sokoto. If you don't have the vote, you don't have the vote. And then suddenly, Rufai Oseni, another deluded fool, asking if somebody knows Omoyele Sowore, and suddenly all Nigerians should know him. In this particular interview, he was even mentioning Deji Adeyanju. Who knows him? Well, I'll let you hear what Oshomole actually said about Omoyele Sowore before I played Omoyele Sowore's response.
Those people who I know Sowore as a defeated presidential candidate. And when you are defeated in election, you wait for the man who won, you give him time. Sowore should know. He had interviewed me in Washington, and I met with him. I like what he was doing. I think he became one of the most authoritative force online.
Okay, I'll stop it right there. That's what he said about Omoyele Sowore. Which I've been telling you all along. Okay, this guy simply think because he's an activist for sometimes now, that suddenly that gives him that criteria, the ground to have been the most popular person in Nigeria, who will get everybody's vote in Nigeria. That it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Especially when you are an activist. You are not popular more than the microscope of the scholars. Many people who follow politics, who study the politics, who actually, have one agitation or the other. Those are the people who know most of the activists. Nigeria is uninformed society. You can't count on the fact that they know you as an activist and suddenly they will turn up for you with the polling booth. That's not how it works. You are deluded if you think like that. I need us to be realistic and stop daydreaming. Daydreaming. It is possible for Bola Ahmed Tinubu today to become the president of Nigeria because he knows how to beat the game. And you cannot sit on the top of the mountain in Nigeria, yell from the top of your loins, agitate all you can, and think you can beat the current game in Nigerian politics. How you beat the game is exactly how Tinubu played the game. He was an activist. He rose from that level. But that wasn't enough. He has to be one of them and know how to beat the game among them. Yes, you label him corrupt. I agree with you. But it takes all that to be able to get him within and beat the system in Nigeria. This is not a civilized society. No matter how you think it is. In America, in England, in all these civilized society, in all these developed society, yes, an activist may be so popular with his voice and rose all the way to the highest top of the echelon, but not in Nigeria. It doesn't matter how sugar-coated your mouth is. It doesn't matter how you think you're fighting for the people. If you don't play the game as steady as it is, a politician in Nigeria, you cannot rise. Period. They will step on you and you have no chance of getting up. I do understand that what Omoyele Sowore is trying to play neutral. At some point, you have to understand that even before you can actually beat the devil, you have to become a devil. Period. Especially in Nigeria. In Nigeria. In Nigeria. It's not a child's play, man. It's not a child's play. If I know how to negotiate with these people to be able to get things done for the people, I would sit on a round table conference with them and I would negotiate what can actually get things done for real human being in Nigeria, rather than actually yelling and making noises all over the place. Because noises don't fix problems. And people have real problems. What would Omoyele Sowore say? What is his response? Listen.
He, of course, said the protest. In an interview on Arise TV, Comrade Adams Oshomole was asked if he knew the protesters. He, of course, said the protest was faceless. He didn't know who the leaders and the sponsors of the protest were. And your name came up. And he referred to you as an absentee desktop leader, a failed presidential candidate, and a politician, in some measure, a politician who is mourning his loss, because you're in the political space right now. So you probably do not have the right to be calling out all the politicians.
She has to say it exactly like that. Absentee desktop leaders. But of course, was it wrong? Omoyele Sowore wasn't in Nigeria. Right now, as we speak, he's still here. He's still somewhere in a foreign country. So, in front of his keyboard, he's a desktop leader who is actually agitating Nigerians from foreign country. Was it wrong to say that? No, that's exactly what he is.
What response would you have to him?
I don't pay attention to Adams Oshomole.
Why? Imagine, you see that? Why would you pay attention to Adams Oshomole? Okay? As an activist, he's more popular than you can ever be. As an activist, he has accomplished things more than you can ever dream of. As a matter of fact, what am I even saying? What has Sowore accomplished? Name one thing Sowore has actually agitated for in Nigeria and actually get results for. One thing. Activism is about getting results for people who believe in you. It's never about you. It's never about just making noise up and down without no result to it. Because at the end of the day, what we will get is to see you climbing up the ladder, making money, having more fame, but then people get nothing. Now, I ask you, people who have been following Omoyele Sowore for years, because I have been one of them, I happen to get tired of him, and I'm like, really? Really? It's so dumb to have fallen in a slumber since all this while, following this guy who is nothing but a grifter who sell match just to be able to raise money and make money off your expense. Yet you think you have a leader who's an activist. Stop fooling yourself, guys. I need you guys to ask yourself, how many of you have actually accomplished anything at all? Anything from following Omoyele Sowore? What goal has he actually accomplished for the regular human who believe in his cause? Because every time the government invites this fool for a conference to negotiate, he refuses. He yabs everybody, abuses everyone. Tell me, how is Omoyele Sowore different from Simon Ekpa? How? How is Omoyele Sowore different from Simon Ekpa? Because that one too is in a foreign country disturbing the peace of Nigeria. He is somewhere in the United States disturbing the peace of Nigeria too. How are they different? How in the world are they different? What has Samuel Ekpa accomplished for his people that he thinks he's clamoring for? Other than mayhems. Other than mayhems. Tell me what this guy, Omoyele Sowore, has actually accomplished, except for the fact that He raises money out of the sweat of you guys following him to build his empire. Sahara reporter. Other than that, tell me what he's actually accomplished for the common man in Nigeria with his agitations. Agitations based on nothing. And then he said he won't pay attention to Shomole. Shomole, as an activist, has accomplished more than he can ever dream of in his life. And just like I told you from the outset, you want to really make impact in Nigeria. It's not about making noises. You have to know how to play the game and beat the game and make the impact. That's what Oshiomhole did. To be the governor of Edo State and now the senator. You want to stay on the mountain, keep yelling? Yeah, that's all you can be. Nothing more. That's all you can be, a yeller from the mountain. You can't be anything more than that. And trust me, people are not going to eat your noise. Your noise is not going to become anything for the people because people need real impact. You need to be impactful with whatever agitation you are backed upon. This guy has been a failure, complete failure, except a success for himself. How is that different from Samuel Ekpa?
I knew Adams Oshiomhole as far back as 1992, 1993, 94. They were the ones who sold out Nigerian people with late Pascal Bafia of the NLC at that time. So he's a wheeler dealer. Like, what am I moneying?
Wheeler dealer. You really see. Here's a grifter calling somebody a wheeler dealer. A grifter on the social media who make money off everything he has agitated for. The moment NSAR finished, after he made tons of money from NSAR that he didn't have no idea how it started. One of those people who hijacked that potential and actually messed up for the people who started it is Omoyele Sowore. Cashed out on it. After he cashed out on it, it quickly came to his head that, you know what? A continuous revolution cry, a continuous revolution outcry is a money-making machine in Nigeria. And ever since then, he started what he calls Revolution Now. And ever since then, Revolution Now has done nothing but raise tons of money from diaspora everywhere. Fools who don't know where to put their money to help real Nigerians. Dumb idiots in diasporas who do not know where to actually put their money to help real Nigerians who need help in the grassroots. They gave him tons of money. For what? For Revolution Now. For Revolution Now. Because he gave them a preemptive, stupid idea that he can actually embark on a revolution in Nigeria. Political revolution, not industrial revolution, not agricultural revolution, not financial revolution, political revolution. Let me explain it to you. That entails that you have to remove a government, which is more or less a coup or insurrection. That's what he is calling for. And some fools in the diaspora pump money to that nonsense and he cashes out. Ta ló gọ̀? Ṣebí Mugun ló gọ̀? Ẹni tó ń pọwọ́ Mugun ò gọ̀. Àwọn ọmọ yahoo yahoo nìkan lẹ pè ní 419. Àwọn eléyìí ti já ọgbọ́n yẹn tipẹ́tipẹ́. Ọmọ Mugun tó ń dáwó fún last ní diaspora. Wọ́n cash out mẹ́. Tá lọ̀dẹ̀ tí ò gbọ́n. Ọ̀dẹ̀ tí ò gbọ́n ló ń dáwó òṣì tó ń sanwó fún àwọn eléyìí, Revolution Now. He's just using it to cash out. Lajui, man, if you really want to take care of people in Nigeria, it's very easy. There's so many organizations out there that are taking care of school children, school kids who are in schools, who need their dreams to aspire. Help these kids and not pump your money into some kind of stupid revolution now that cannot accomplish anything. Revolution now. Where? In Nigeria? In Nigeria? You don't know less nonsense.
In an election that did not take place, I think they're the ones who are money. They're the ones who have to be on TV every morning.
So they are the one who has to be on TV every day. But guess what? Oshiomhole came to Arise News. When? And since when? But on a daily basis now, you book this appointment with Central TV. I'm looking at the Central News. There'll be News Central. Every day.
Just crying and sobbing and trying to defend indefensible. I don't think it's important to waste my time. And let me just brag a little bit here. I'm a presidential candidate, so I cannot be responding to a little bit here. I'm a presidential candidate, so I cannot be responding to a senator.
Listen to this foolishness.
Brag a little bit here. I'm a presidential candidate, so I cannot be responding to a senator.
Listen to it. Listen again.
And let me just brag a little bit here. I'm a presidential candidate, so I cannot be responding to a senator.
Are you kidding me? This is the guy you guys are falling over the hill for? Your leader? Let me brag a little bit. I'm a presidential candidate. I cannot be responding to it. Really? Nigeria ain't got to show you. Babala is going to show you, man. This is the guy that you guys are falling over the hill to follow. Calling himself an activist. Let me brag a little. I am a presidential candidate. I cannot be responding to a senator. Unbelievable. This is who our young people are following. Imagine. I am a presidential candidate. I cannot be responding to a senator. Wait, being a presidential candidate in Nigeria give you a certain status? A particular... What you guys want, man? Are you kidding me? This is going in line with what I told you yesterday. That we must disassociate ourselves from the mentality of oppressors. That mentality, when you see two men on the street fighting, and one is asking, do you know who I am? You know who I be? That is the same mentality he just portrayed right now. I am a presidential candidate. I cannot be responding to a senator. Imagine how foolish that sounds every time I replay it in my head. How delusional he is to have said that. Let me brag a little. No, don't brag a little. Brag if you said that, and that's just a little brag. Imagine what you will do when you brag really big. Oh man. Oh man. Unbelievable. Oh, that to rig on because the whole world is actually taking us serious, thinking that we're a smart generation. I truly believe Nigerians are smart. We are smart. But my goodness, we are deluded, completely gullible. People we follow. It tells how shallow we can think sometimes. This is the guy that has been disrupting and leading you young people against the government of the land to disrupt and set yourselves on fire just because you believe in this one that just said right in front of you now that he want to brag that because he's a presidential candidate, he's not going to give a credence or response to a senator. talking about Nigerian hierarchy, let's just imagine hierarchy in Nigeria as a governmental hierarchy. Do you hear what he just said? That because he is a mere presidential candidate, he cannot respond to a senator. Am I the only one here who know factually that even a councillor in the local government is much in the higher hierarchy than a presidential candidate who failed? A councillor in the local government is still on the higher hierarchy, higher pedestal than a mere presidential candidate who failed. What kind of status is that you think you can brag with it? Who says that is something? That is nothing. That is nothing. Do you know what it entails to be a presidential candidate in Nigeria? Do you know? Money. Have up to 200 million to 300 million in your account. You will register and you'll be a candidate. And all of them in the past election that actually paid that money to register as a presidential candidate did it solely because that money always multiplies. If you put down 200 million naira to register as a candidate in the presidential election, before the end of that campaign, that money is already times 10 from different contributions from average Nigerians. Not to even talk of these same people, these politicians that will collect money from another politician in order to be able to disrupt the vote of another politician in another territory. Let me explain myself. If Omoyele Sowore can disrupt the vote of Peter Obi in some territory where Peter Obi will not be able to get enough votes, and he got money from Tinubu, he will take it. You won't know. And he will campaign seriously in that area where Peter Obi will have gotten enough votes. But meanwhile, divide that vote so that Tinubu will be able to edge out. I'm just giving an example. I didn't say it happened. But this is what this petty presidential candidate, this small presidential candidate, this is what they do during election. They act as spoilers. They get paid to act as spoilers. Don't take him serious. For any one of you who is taking Omoyele Sowore as serious activist who really got your back, you are fooling yourselves. I can't say more than that. When they pay that huge amount of money, who is that fool that would throw away that kind of money? Are you telling me that Omoyele Sowore really believe that he can win presidency in Nigeria? That this guy truly believe it is also that he can win presidency in Nigeria? If you believe that, you need to be living in a cave. If you truly believe that, you need to be living in a cave. What the heck? Why do you guys delude yourself like that? If any one of you truly believe that this guy has what it takes to win presidency in Nigeria, you must be living in a cave. Don't come to the streets. Because that's some messed up, deluded shit to believe that Omoyele Sowore can become president in Nigeria. Who knows him? Who knows him? Beyond social media, who really knows him? Go and visit some other people's farmland and see how big it is. And you see that your papa's farmland is just a garden in the backyard. Nonsense. That's his response. And that last statement tells you all you need to know about these people. They are even worse than your leader currently. Imagine, let me brag. I'm a presidential candidate. I cannot be responding to a senator. A senator, he will eat you up. He will eat you up. Presidential candidate. Who the heck does? Who said that is a status? Eh? Who said anywhere that is a particular status that should be reckoned with? And yet not minding the fact that you should have called yourself a failed presidential candidate. Can't wake up now. You know, I wake up. I don't really believe that we are smart, man. Act like one. Hello, J-Boy.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Sorry. I have to bring you in.
Thank you very much.
It's unbelievable with these guys, man. You know, if you've been listening to my rants, you know that I'm not willing to take it into any one of these. Have you been listening to me at all?
Yes, I've been. I'm trying to how you have dissect the nefarious activities of Sowore. How has been tricking a lot of people, trying to believe is the new orders in town with his activities that is negative, that will definitely negate the so-called the advancement we have had politically in the last 24 years. I think
here is my question.
Okay.
Do you really think, because I've been assessing, this guy to the populace for a while now. Do you really believe, as a political analyst who knows what is permeable in Nigeria, do you really believe that people who agitate, who make noises, but yet get no result, who cannot actually name a single result to whatever they have been agitating for, they call themselves activists? Do you think these people are really helping the people or they are helping themselves? Because if I give you an example, activists around the world have been able to have a voice for a certain goal, and they always ensure that they get this goal done, especially when the people on the opposing side of their agitation invite them to a table to talk about how to resolve things. In most cases, when they invite Omoyele Sowore to the table, he will never go. He usually disrespect them, call them names and jab them a lot. But he will never sit down with any politicians or any government to negotiate on behalf of people that he's agitating for. What do you make of that?
I think let's try to break it down. Let's try to explain it one after the other. What do you call activists himself? People championing for certain underprivileged societies. In different strata of societies, it can be in the area of education, it can be in the area of political participation, it can be in the area of gender emancipation. It depends on the kind of views, angle you are coming from to agitate for. And that I call activists. But in the person that in the conversation today, talking about Sowore now, is more of a disruptive in person. He does not. Who is he fighting for? He's only fighting for his own interior motive. He just wants to exploit the gullibility of the people to enhance his own life. Now, you call for revolution. You went to go and domicile your family in US. For good 5 years, you are having nothing to do with them. And you are now bringing peoples from other to the center stage for agitations. Where are your keys? You are protecting yours, you are destroying others. To show the kind of person he is, a chameleon person he is. He's never fighting for anybody. Just trying to erase that from the argument we will have today. He's not fighting for anybody. He's only fighting for himself. He's only fighting for how he's able to enrich himself. You said the other time that most presidential candidates is always looking for means to enrich themselves financially. Now, let me ask, do you even know where this guy came from to tell you whether he has interest in politics himself. He don't. So to tell you.
Give us a brief on that. Before you go on that, let me introduce you properly. Okay.
Okay.
J-Boy is one of the columnists on OGM News, Nigeria, and he's a political analyst. By virtue of his degrees and all that, he's very efficient when it comes to political analysis in Nigeria especially. So he will be coming up on this show once in a while to be able to give us some peripheral of historical background of many of the political participants in Nigeria. Because as we share most of our details, we just want to be a little bit factual, a little bit grounded on some civic studies, because like I told you earlier, on this show, I said it's very important for us to delve into how civic responsibility should work. And that is lacking, especially among these Gen Zs. We lack this basic knowledge about civic responsibility. Many of us don't even know how our government works, okay? And this show will not be about voicing out for things that are wrong in the society. We also want to make it an opportunity to teach people to be able to know their basic responsibility when it comes to civic responsibility. Know how your government works. Because if you are doing, there's no way you can agitate successfully unless you know how government really works. Okay? And that is why I put it on board myself to bring somebody who is highly professional in that particular field to be able to give us some thoughts once in a while on this level. All right, I'll let you go on, J-Boy.
Okay, thanks for the proper introduction. I'll do my best to ensure that people are waking their awareness. We need to get ourselves armed with a lot of information and to able to know the right thing to do and the right way to go about it. Because one of the things that matter most in society is two components: leadership and followership. The two of them complement one another, trying to sharpen one another. Because if we have a very docile, very ineffectual followership, we definitely the leadership will also take there for a ride. At the same time, when we have a very active leadership and the followership is very docile too, we are not going to have a kind of the goal of society will not be achieved, because the followership are even the major driver of every developed nation, every nation in the world that is aspiring to be developed, because they are the one that will carry out the instruction being dished out by the leadership. And that's the reason why this show is very, very important for every one of us to able to key into it, to participate, to get engaged. You can able to enlighten ourselves, because somebody without adequate information will surely get the form. When you get the form, you are not going to have a very objective decision when you are where you want to take politically. And that's why this show is very, very important. Now let's get back to where we are coming from. And I think
you were talking about where Omoyele Sowore started.
Now, yes, people don't know that Sowore came from Ondo State. When you look at the political space in Ondo State, where is he occupying there? Yes,
you will have think at least he start his political activity from the grassroots, from his local government or his state.
He does not. Nobody knows him in where he came from the South Central District of Ondo State. Nobody knows him there. To tell you that he's only using the emergence of social media to able to dominate the mind of some people that they felt desire. What call it? They are not comfortable with the government of the day. One thing about every society in the world, we all have people that always anti-government. Everything government does, they are not only comfortable with it, whether good or bad. I think that was very certain. But he only trying to exploit all those people just to his own advantage, to trying to see how he's going to channel their mind towards his own set goals. And those people are usually fall for it. And that is exactly what has been a kind of a routine style or pattern of doing things over a long period of time, and has been favoring him. And it's continuing to do that. Even now, you have also added a dimension to talking about the diasporas. So now they are also become a victim of his own of some political trick, which to me is a surprise. I believe those people from that angle, from that environment, should knows better than this. than to also become a victim or political graduate or this kind of person. I think there's a need for us to be able to conscientize ourselves to take to a reality that we need to build this nation. And building a nation is a collective effort of both leaders and the followers, and even in the diasporas. We need to trying to channel our energy, our brain, our capacity towards the development of this nation in every sector, earthwise, agriculture, education, technologies. We all hands must be on deck to actualize that, because the good of this nation is the good for the citizens. When you say nation is developed, that means the citizens in that place are developed. And these are the areas where we need to channel our energy. When you look at your background, it does not have any genuine political background. It is not recognized it's where it came from. It's only trying to operate at the social media levels to able to exploit a lot of people. He says the presidential candidate of which party? Tell me the party. Which party? Is it a Labour Party, a PDP party, or APC party?
I
Which
think
party
he
are
has
you?
his own party or something.
You are able to establish that. They just go and meet INEC. They register parties. In the last election, more than 20 people contested for presidential election. Where are the rest today? You only know of three: Peter Obi, Labour, Atiku PDP, and Bola Tinubu APC. These are the three parties we know. When you are not trying
at least Kwankoso, but other than those four, nobody knows any one of them.
Okay, MPPs from the Kano. Now, when you look at how they are political bigwig, they are political giants who have cut their onions, who knows what they are doing. Not somebody that's only come around. What are you revolutionizing? Like what you said the other time. Are you trying to engage in revolutions like what Europe witnessed in the 18th century? Are you trying to engage in?
So let me come on that, because this is what some of the things that actually gets me. Because this guy started this revolution now, I think about 5 years ago, that he has been, this particular revolution now outcry. And I think it's as a result of the reward he got, financially from the NSAS. And he just think a continuous agitation can actually continue to yield him some money. That's what I believe. Because these diasporas, that has been donating to this revolution now, I don't know what they're thinking, or I don't know what they expect. Have they actually asked this guy appropriate question as to what this revolution is about? In my previous show, I gave few examples about revolution around the world, specifically mentioning that of Cuba, Fidel Castro. That revolution that was welcomed by all Cubans when it took place. But eventually, how did it end up for Fidel Castro himself? Who is forgetting that when Jerry Rawlings took over in Ghana, that was also called a revolution. The same thing Samuel Doe in Liberia. All these guys that I have mentioned, how did they end up? They ended up worse than the people they kicked out of government. So the idea of revolution, the idea of revolution has often ended in a terrible way. I'll tell you how. Either people who get themselves involved in actually doing that revolution became enemies of each other, and the division is uncontrollable. That is post-revolution. Or if it's a sole leader like that of Fidel Castro and Samuel Doe, they end up becoming the dictator, the authoritarian they were fighting against in the revolution. So when this guy keep hammering on revolution now, has any one of these people contributing money for him ever asked him, what is this revolution about? What is the plan? How do we carry this out? What is the post plan? What is the post-revolution idea? Has any one of them actually been really seriously asked this question? I'm guessing no. Because what we do in Nigeria is just go like zombies, without asking questions. We just follow people blindly. And that gets me a lot.
I think people are also trying to get, because I remember the line NSAS. It was kicked out of that protest. He went there, tried to assume the leadership of the protest.
He wanted, not that he wanted to hijack. He did hijack it.
But later he was kicked out of that after that protest. People said no. I watched a video
before he was kicked out. Let me give you a paraphrase of my knowledge of it. Before he was kicked out, he has actually made enough ground, enough followers to cash out, because it's all about money. And I keep telling people, slow your roll. To this guy, it's all about money, fame, and us and others. It's never about people. And that is why I asked you earlier, if someone is yelling at the top of their lungs, agitating, and they said they are agitating for the people, what are the results that they have been able to accomplish so far? And in this guy's case, he hasn't accomplished a single file of results for anyone, for any community. No goal has been accomplished other than he built an empire off of his activism. So at what point will people discover that it is not only the Yahoo boys that are actually scamming people, that this set of activists, so-called activists, are just the same? At what point will people be able to open their eyes and see this clearly?
Now, I think let me try to add something to that area. From now, the problem we have in this part of this, especially in Nigeria precisely, our politics is built on tripod. Remember, tripod is built on ethnicity, religious, and that's why sentiment is always driven our decision making. Sentiment of all those factors which I mentioned
rather than facts.
Rather than facts, and which has always been a kind of anti-progress for our development process, especially politically, which also affects economic development as well. Now, look at the scenario that we have on ground now. Even look at the last protest that was played out. A lot of people now are trying to hide on that protest to instigate violence against the incumbent administration, really from the northern aspect, from the northern part of Nigeria. You can see where the Russia flag was hosted in Nigeria, which is an aberration. It's a treason and felony offense. Now, this is where I'm going now, that Showore himself also exploit this type of sentiment among people that the government are the one responsible for their woes, and you need to kick out this government out, your life will be better off, without telling them the basic thing that they need to do to help the government to perform well, and where to need to also hold the government responsible for them to able to do their job. Now you are fighting government, and you want something from that government, and you want that government to do the right thing, which you believe is the right thing, and you have not even made it known to them. These are the things supposed to do, at least that we're able to add value to the life of the common people that I also stand for, which I also believe in. And these are the problem we have. And so we have always exploited all those loopholes in the mindset of the people that, whoa, this government is bad, though, we need to kick them out. And people are only falling for that kind of prey. I remember some people now, they still have to believe that Tinubu stole the mandate from Peter Obi, who came third.
Wasn't that the whole point of this protest? They're only deceiving themselves. We know from the start that is the whole point of the protest.
These are the people that you always exploit. The people that don't believe in that, okay, they hate, I don't want to use word hate now, that they don't believe in this government. You all try to exploit their mind, don't worry. I will send them packing. We are going to revolution against them. Look at what happened in us now. So people are calling for military rule in Nigeria. And people people of our old bracket that had an experience of what military rules is all about, I don't think we also call for it. And I really appreciate Femi Falana that quickly came in. Nobody should ever agitate for that, because we all knew the so-called military rules in the neighboring countries. But how are they fear of? From Burkina Faso down to Mali, down to Niger,
Burkina Faso, and
Burkina Faso, Guinea. How are they fear of?
So
even
let me go back.
Even the killings in all those countries is not abated, because these are the area where they all they all add under to topple the government of the day. Now the problem is, well, but these people now is that they know what is right, they know what this guy is doing, but they are still falling for it because it's exploiting their sentiment mentality, and that's why they always become a victim of all these tricks just to siphon them. I think the only thing that we need to do now is our show. We continue to expose all these tricks to the people for them to have understanding that what we need to do is to support the government of the day in a little way we can do, and to see the way we can also do what, because what we need now, we need governance, quality governance, and the quality governance does not stop at the presidency alone. Even at the local government level, even at the state level, we need to continue.
Let me cut you off there. Okay, you are delving into my next segment, so let me quickly show this video before we start talking about, because earlier I mentioned the importance of understanding our civic responsibility, understanding how governance really works. As a matter of fact, let's put it straight like this: we operate on presidential system of government in Nigeria. How many of these agitators actually understand how presidential system of government works? Because everybody is out on the street now, right? Agitating for end the bad governance. That's what some people say. Some people will say end the bad government. That means a specific government. Whereas some people actually outrightly say Tinubu must go. Okay, but here is the thing. Here is the kicker. River State governments, for example, have gotten nothing less than 200 billion from this Tinubu administration in the past 1 year. 200 billion. Why has any one of these protesters not diverting their attention on these governors, asking what they have done with money received through federal allocations? Because to my knowledge and fact on ground is that since the end of the subsidy, the federal allocation has not only multiplied, it has tripled. Since then, the federal allocation has been more than triple since the end of the subsidy. So you keep getting these billions from this Tinubu, this same Tinubu that all of you are going for. What are the governors doing with it? Let's watch this video first, and then I will have you come in later. I'm sorry, I need to refresh that video. Okay, got it in? All right.
Governments got governors. The question is that it is not only at and you just look at the pressure is on the federal government. They are getting the message. Has the state governments gotten the message? And the local government, the councillors, are they getting the message?
Well, so they are not getting the message because
hold on.
If you look at
here is my take before I make you listen to that. How in the world is it possible for them to get a message that they are not being sent? I mean, nobody is actually offering any message to the governors. In the frame of this particular protest, no one has actually targeted the governors. No one has actually targeted the states, the local chairman. The only name we've had so far is Tinubu. And Tinubu is saying he's been paying them billions. But none of these protesters is actually analyzing any one of these states. How deluded or delusional can we be that we don't even know how our government works? I explained last time that When it comes to paying the federal allocation, Tinubu has no right to withhold it from any state. And he also has no right to ask them or to question them how they spend the money. They spend it at will according to the way they want because they have state autonomous. The same thing with the local government. The only way that Tinubu can actually circumvent the control of this spending in each state is to declare a state of emergency. But you can't just go on a whim and declare a state of emergency. A state of emergency has to come off. A state of emergency has to come off a particular reason that the state is actually not able to control its affairs anymore before a president can declare a state of emergency. Unless that is done, no president can control any president or tell any control any governor or tell any governor how to do his rulings. Now, J-Boy,
yeah,
I want you to pay attention to this video before I have you come up.
What happened, even when protest was about to, commence, I think that was a tactical error made by Mr. President when he invited the traditional rulers to come to the villa so he can address them and ask them to go and pacify, their people. The traditional rulers were.
I think he missed something there because he actually had a meeting with the governors too. J-Boy, am I right or am I wrong?
Yes. I might not have the knowledge of that information.
Okay. He did have meeting with the governor. I think the first meeting he called was with the governors.
Well, the governor, yes. They are the owner of their state.
So he got that particular information wrong there. He didn't just call the Obas, the traditional rulers. He did invite the governors first. All right, I'll play the video.
We're not the right people to summon at that point in time. I think Mr. President should have exposed at that point in time the governors, the state governors. And the state governors should go maybe in collaboration with their traditional rulers in their domains to now appeal to the people. Because if you see what has happened, that's why I say they're not seeing the money you're talking about. Because people who are taking this money have not been put on the spot. And in addition to the 400.
So can you highlight briefly what is he talking about when he said the governors should have been exposed?
Yeah, I think that this is also a major problem of this current administration too. Tinubu is just being too fatherly in nature with even the governors, and that's a fact, obvious fact. Anybody that want to care about this nation, that have interest of this nation, we're able to tell you that Tinubu has been to a fatherly figure to all these governors, but even without a party divide, both APC and PDP, even Labour. No, how in the history of this nation, no a time Nigeria have been so good when it comes to revenue wise for the various governors. Before they always complain of they don't have enough revenue, but now they are not complaining about that. What is the problem now is how to use the money to stimulate development in their various regions. I think that's why the president need to do what? Push it out to the people that these are the money the governors are collecting. You need to demand, hold them accountable. You need to demand accountability for them. You need to let them work, try to put them on the spot to let them work for you. I've done my bit to increase their revenue allocation through government policies, and now left for the people now also, because you are the one that elected them, and you elected them for a certain reason to develop your state, and you must seek for development from them. You must have to. You don't need to try to shield them. You don't need to protect them. You need to expose them. No, and this has always been a problem. People don't know. How many people now? Tinubu, everybody, Tinubu. Nobody asks about what their governor in their domain is doing to enhance development in their state. I think there was one issue that I called about 2 or 3 weeks ago, after the local government's autonomy verdict from the Supreme Court. The governor of your state was lamenting, wailing, complaining that instead of people to focus on hunger and he said people are angry and hunger and angry. They are now distracting us with local government autonomy. Now, you as a subnationals, you have a responsibility and one of your responsibilities is agriculture. And fortunately, Oyo is blessed with massive land. What are your agricultural policies to enhance food production in your state in order to reduce the price of goods in your state? People are not talking about that to him. It's all about Tinubu all the time. And that's why Tinubu need to try to stop the idea of fatherly figure to the nation as a person. He has to expose the governor, let people know what the governors are collecting, and then what? Then people now demand from them, Oga, have we heard that you collected 11 billion last month too? Sir, what have you done with your money? I think these people will help the nation to grow. Not that we expect center to come and be the one to develop our backyard. I think
let me go over this quickly, because I just got these reports today sent to me. This is the current month, okay? Back allocation, back FAAC, that is federal allocation to these states. Now, let me just specifically pick Delta State, who got, hold on, Delta State got about 40, hold on, right. Okay, 43,000.7 billion. Okay, Lagos State got 26 billion, and then Oyo got 11 billion, and Osun State got 7 billion. Now, Edo State 11 billion, Ekiti State 6 billion plus, Enugu 8 point something billion, Anambra 11 point something billion. You see, this is how they get it every month. Every month. Every month. We're not talking about the revenue that the state generates. Okay? Yes, tax comes in from each of the states. This is how they factor, how they share the money back into the state. But this is not adding the revenue that the state actually generates that the federal government can't do anything about. Aside from the idea that there's revenue coming from each state to the federal government, there are some state revenue that the federal government don't even have hands in, cannot do anything about. Every state generates one of its own, and yet they still get these monthly from the federal government. In Kano State, Rabiu, or what the Sosaka will call himself, was encouraging the protest. Abba Yusuf was encouraging the protest. But now, his state got it worse. And what his state is actually feeling is not coming from Tinubu's administration. It's coming from his administration. Because for some of us who are familiar with the northern part very well, they have this mentality of, not actually helping their people beyond giving them minga food every morning. And that is why they have this alumanjeri culture in the north. I will finish that video before I go to another one.
There was also 1.33 trillion naira that was at FAC that was given to the states. So the question is, why is it that the federal government has not all along been able to put together a system whereby accountability will become, an issue? So it's as if the federal government is giving a lot of money to the states without asking how to use it. Yes, there are those who will say the federal system of government allows for that level of independence. The federating units should have the lives of their own and be able to determine how they run their own states in their own territory, and the federal government has its own powers. But the question is that the states, apart from some of these intervention funds, the states are getting far more than what they used to get since subsidy was removed. Exactly. The question is that where are the funds? The funds, like I said, I think the issue it's still, like you rightly pointed out, the Mr. President should put the governors, the states, on the spot. If you look at the Revenue Mobilization Allocation Fiscal Commission, of course, it says that money is given to the states because going by the sharing formula, which is in the Constitution. But where is the accountability? Is it that you just come to the federal, you collect money, you go and do whatever you like with it, you come back again, you collect, you go and do whatever you like with it, nobody asks you to render any account? And if there's any account being rendered, because we all know the states are in the pockets of the governors, not the House of Assemblies, not the traditional rulers. Nobody in any state can talk to any governor because they behave like emperors in where they preside, in the states. So the issue is that we've come to a stage where the problems should be put squarely where it belongs, and that is for the citizens to begin to now hold the state governors to account for how much has been given to them.
In fact, alone, Alaji Abajisani, there is a report which says that the state governments or the states have received an average percentage rise in the federal allocation up to 27%.
Yes.
So if they were receiving a certain amount consistently over the last year, since Bola Tinubu came into government, the allocation that goes to the state had increased up to about 27%.
Yes.
So are we seeing the effect of the 27%, or even if it's 20% or 25% rise in federal allocation in the lives and livelihoods of the people? Anyways, the state in each of these states of the federation where people are protesting, there are state governors there.
Yes.
Agree that Bola Tinubu was the one who made the decision to remove subsidy.
Yes.
And the major effect of that subsidy removal is what we are seeing in our livelihoods and in the price of commodities in the market. But the question is that, are there no governors in the federative?
So just to put a clear explanation of what Shewin is trying to say there, you see, the subsidy ended. And due to that, these state governors are getting more money than they used to get. Almost 27% increase compared to what they used to get paid from the end to subsidy. Now, these hypocritical governors, very, very hypocritical governors, we now tell the protesters, oh, it's not my fault. It is Tinubu's fault for removing the subsidy. The same sort of subsidy that is now giving them more revenue, more income from the federal government, more allocations. And the protesters are dumb enough not to ask a question what they have been doing with their money. And you see Sheon trying to fall on a particular line there to explain what federalism is. That is appropriate because the federal government cannot control any affairs of the state governors. That is why we have state autonomous. Now, just because the federal government cannot control the affairs of the state government does not mean that the people in the state shouldn't ask questions. And this is what we keep saying. You really want our government to work? Stop making it all about Tinubu because he's doing everything he has to do for all your states. What are the governors doing? Other than they believe that this money is their hereditary, like is their inheritance. And once they got these allocations, they just do whatever they like with it. They see people too cheap, too ignorant to understand what is going on. They love it. They want people to be in that darkness. You guys yell every now and then, Tinubu, 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 but your governors love it. They want you to do that. Because the more you do that, the more your eyes are blind to them stealing your money through the back door. Unless we change the approach to these agitations and protests, that shows that we really understand how Nigerian government works. There is problem. There is real problem. I will play this next
as
video.
Democrats, we believe that it is a fundamental right of citizens in democratic nations to embark on protests to draw the attention of government to specific socio-economic problems in society. In view of this, we expect all protesters to be peaceful and protesters to be law-abiding and not to do anything in the process to incite tension, unrest, violence, and cause the loss of lives and destruction of properties. In Rivers State, we have observed that there is a curious deviation from this constitutional benchmark for protesters and protests. What we see today is that protesters have resorted to unlawful acts, such as burning of tires, extortion of motorists, and threatening business owners to shut down their premises. There is clear indication that the organizers are losing control of the protesters. Who are resorting to more disruptive and criminal conduct. For example, the recent attack on the APC State Secretariat in Rivers State and threat to attack the residential home of the FCT minister prove the correctness of the obvious. The unnecessary politicization of the protest for political benefits by forces loyal to the governor of Rivers State. Worse still, the protest is becoming subversive as protesters are chanting "Tinubu must go" slogan. Ordinarily, the governor, being the chief security officer, instead of taking clear and staunch proactive stance like his counterparts in the country to prevent or control the protests, is seen posing indifferently amid the unlawful, chaotic, and implosive strides by protesters. Surprisingly, the governor in his address on the first day of the protest justified the protests, even applauding and lending credence, as well as moving among them, showing assent and affirmation to the unlawful acts of the protesters. Only signals a foul play, a twist in the sworn obligation to ensure security and well-being of citizens. As a major...
So just so you know, it's not only the Rivers State governor that did what he just alleged. Many of the PDP governors did exactly the same. Encourage the protest. Make it seem like, yes, it's Tinubu that is causing all the trouble. And I will say this again. These protesters are completely ignorant. You know, as in, none of these people really know what is obtainable, especially in governance in Nigeria. And unfortunately, with this such level of ignorance, it is obvious that you will be used. You are not protesting to your own grievances. You are already doing the bidding of the politicians.
The beneficiary of the oil subsidy removal, whose allocation from the federation account has increased astronomically, we ordinarily expect the governor to tell the protesting youths what he has done or intends to do to reduce the suffering of his people. He only offered the protesters bread and pure water and promised to convey the demands of the protesters to the president as if the ongoing protest is only against Mr. President. This is unfortunate. As citizens of Rivers State, we take exceptions to this approach. As individuals who led the campaigns for the governor of Rivers State during the 2023 general elections, we know that the protest is against Mr. President, the governor, and the local government council chairman who received allocation from FAC. On our part, we have worked hard in our respective local government areas to ensure that the local government areas are peaceful. As chairman, we embarked on numerous developmental projects in our respective local government areas for the economic empowerment and development of our people.
So this is where I will agree with you, J-Boy, that Tinubu should throw away the father figure attributes and actually really become a true gangster with these people. There is need for him to shame these governors. Because guess what? Some of them are outrightly coming out and lie that they have received nothing from the federal government. This is what Nigerian is dealing with. Right here in OGM News, we receive reports on a monthly basis what is going out of the federal allocations to each of these states. That is enough to address the need of the nation. And this is why I just don't want us to be running around like headless chicken, like we don't know what we are doing. If we are going to agitate, at least understand how government really works. From head all the way to toe. Understand how government really works, especially this presidential system of government that we practice. I'll come up with a video maybe tomorrow. There's one, one of the so-called leader of the protest on Arise News today, saying that suggesting that the government should tackle security, should add money to agriculture, do this. And that has already been done. What is needed from you protesters is to go after these governors and ask them questions how they actually implement some of this money they have received. You want the president to actually address security. He has done it. He has made sure that he get every allocation needed to kickstart this. But here is the foolery of you protesters, is that you don't understand that the president can't just nilly-willy walk into each state and start controlling things. Yes, he can allocate fund, but how the fund is being utilized, that he doesn't have control over. You can ask the president to do this, do that, all you can. Tell the president to allocate money for this project and that project and all you can. But what will not happen is the president to go into each state and see to how the money is implemented, because how it was embedded in our constitution is far from that. Yes, the president will allocate, and he has been allocating these funds. It's as if these people don't even know why they have governors in the first place. Are they supposed to be figurative? Decorations? They have jobs. And many of these governors, except for few, namely Lagos State governors, are not doing their job. Namely Borno State governors. Just to name a few that are actually working hard. Even Abia State governors that most of you celebrate, this guy is owing his workers many amount of months. And yet he has got the federal allocation just like any other state. Let me go through that list again. Let me go through that list again just to tell you exactly how much Abia get monthly. So Abia State get 9.3 billion on a monthly basis from the federal government. 9.3 billion. More than 11 billion to Anambra. For 3 billion to Delta State. About 30-something billion to River State. On a monthly basis. On a monthly basis. In fact, if they miss 1 month, you will hear the noise quickly. But none of them can actually vow and come out and beat their chest that they haven't received their monthly allocation from the federal government. What are you people doing? Protesters, these so-called agitators. Why are you not having a clear focus to challenge these governors and ask what they do with this money? Go ahead and make it about Tinubu, because at the end of the day, you will get nothing from it. Just like Buhari have given tons of billions to these governors and they did nothing with it. They shift the blame to him, and you keep crying that Buhari messed up the country. You will say the same thing when this president leaves. And let me pray that you will have Peter Obi as the next president of this country. The shocker is that you will tell the same story about Peter Obi. Because as a people, we do not know how to really challenge our government. If we keep making it about the center, all the other parastatal of governments will keep laughing at us and take our money through the back door. Because your anger, you don't know how to channel it. You don't know who to target. You make it all about one singular focus. And once you do that, you already killed your instinct to attack the governors. They love that. They love that. Because that gives them all the room they need to take your money through the back doors.
This explains why the local government areas are largely peaceful in this era of protests. Till date, we are still persuading our people to be supportive of Mr. President, assuring them that the president means well for Nigeria. We commend Mr. President for his efforts in initiating and implementing various policies to move Nigeria forward. According to Sanusi, the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, it will be unfair to...
But by the way, that is a PDP man. Okay? Sanusi, former CBN governor, that is a PDP man. Yeah, I will let him read what he said.
And man, if we blame Tinubu for Nigeria economic hardship, according to him, Nigeria was living on fake lifestyle with huge debt from foreign and domestic borrowings since 2012. Tinubu's decision to remove subsidy.
And for some of you who like to say it is Buhari who is borrowing that debt, no, it is not just Buhari. These have started all the way since from the military regime. Obasanjo didn't change anything about it. Jonathan didn't change anything about it. They continue on the borrowing pattern to pay for that subsidy.
And unification of the exchange rate was Nigeria's only surviving strategy. Today, there is no more borrowing to run government anymore. The president has only governed Nigeria for 14 months. We believe more time is needed for his policies to impact on the people. With the removal of import duties on food and pharmaceutical imports, prices of food and medical consumables will soon fall drastically.
So for some of you who don't know, the governors, especially the PDP governors and the opposition party governors, they are trying everything they could to sabotage Tinubu's government. Because imagine the idea that any of the things he's putting in place starts succeeding, start happening successfully. Just imagine that. They fear that. They fear that idea. And they will do anything in the ugly book to sabotage it. I mean, how do you explain getting billions from the federal government, but pocketing it, hiding it, not doing anything with it? How do you explain getting 10 loads of bag of rice for the people, but hoarding it? In this same protest, how many state government storage have been looted? That food were being looted. Now, what are those food doing there? Governors now have food storage of rice that they want to eat throughout their tenure. These are people's food. Released by this same Tinubu, you guys are shouting and yelling up and down. But you don't want to hear it because you are stuck behind in the 2023 election. You don't want a guy in the first place. From the day one, you never want him to succeed. Some of you outrightly confessed online that you would do everything in your power to make sure he doesn't succeed. We are seeing it. We can now see it. It's now clear to all of us now that some of you guys, just trying everything you can to sabotage his efforts. Unless you are able to explain to me how you spend all these allocations from federal government, you are all nothing but a sabotage. Nothing but a sabotage.
We commend the president for initiating an action to ensure local government autonomy in the federation. With this, the local government councils will drive development of the grassroots in the nation.
Guess what? Guess what? Or your state, Makinde of PDP, did with that local government. Man, you know, stop deluding yourself, guys. Understand how government works. When this local government autonomous was approved in the Supreme Court, the only governors who came out against it were from PDP. Why is that? I wonder. Why is that? I wonder. The same autonomous power that you have that wouldn't allow the president of the country to control you anyhow, that same power was given to the local government so that you don't push them around. You said no. You said no. Tell me, why is that? Because just as the president of the country can't oversee everything that happens in the nation unless the governor do their parts, so is the local government chairman. They need that autonomous power to be able to do their part, not being influenced by unnecessary control of the state governors. That is when you people can see impact of what the government is doing. Yet some of you want corruption to end. It's right in front of your nose. You can't even recognize it.
In addition, we thank Mr. President for doing the following: approval and increasing minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira, initiating the student loan scheme, clearing of foreign exchange obligations of about $5 billion. This has reduced Nigeria's debt service ratio from 97% to 68%. Earmarking of 10 million hectares of land for food production, proposing to build 100,000 houses in 3 years. This will amount to 500 housing units to be built for low-income.
Okay, I will let you watch the rest of the video after I complete this particular show. Okay, don't worry. Once I finish this show, I'll go back into it. So, J-Boy, are you there? I need your last word on this particular aspect of the governor's autonomous, local chairman autonomous, and the right they have to spend this money or allocations as they found it.
Before I go to that, there's something thing I think the protesters, they fail from their planning. When you look at the headline,
that is if they have planning. I personally think they don't have a single plan.
Because when you look at even the headline, "End bad governance," it's an open statement. It's not factual. It's not directed at a certain thing. When talking about governance, it's encompassing has to do with government activities. Which area of government activities are you trying to target? You want to achieve certain thing from that? Nothing. I'm talking about governance. You're talking about all now from the federal to state to local government level, and that's what governance is all about. Now you not made any statement known that this is what you want.
It's a black statement, like yeah, they didn't really have a goal.
Now, end bad governance. That means you want the government to collapse. Simple. That's exactly what you are trying to achieve.
And how is that going to achieve any result for common people?
It will not. It will only plunge the country into anarchy. Simple. I say from the beginning of the protest, from the plan of the protest, discover that they've already failed. Because when I say now it's okay, we want a price of goods to reduce. It's something. Okay, you want food production. You at least you target it a certain specific goal to achieve. But and the government will okay. You will now address. You now trying to negotiate on that. Look at what happened in Kenya, because I know this protest draw inspiration from what happened in Kenya. Kenya had increment of their tax. And they said they don't want it. And the president there, President Ruto, has to reverse that. And that's it. But
that's a specific goal, and they achieve it.
Nothing what look what happened in Bangladesh. Okay, there was one archaic policy in the Bangladesh whereby a certain percentage, the quota of the jobs in government is reserved for certain people, certain group of in the country. They went to court back and forth. At the end of the day, they achieved that. They 97% merit, only 2% for those people. And these are protests. That have it goes to achieve.
Goal.
Not what we did here. And later it was politicized. People would now use it as a kind of umbrella
issue, religious issue, and all sorts of nonsense issue that doesn't make any sense.
The people, and that's where the people need to able to realize these are our countries, and we must do everything to ensure that we enhance the quality of governance in our nations. Don't allow sentiment, and that always been our problem from reception. Not even now, 1959. We are in this kind of situation where sentiment is always dominate our decision-making process, and these are always become a recurring situation. I think there's a need for us to be able to deviate from this path and trying to take a proactive measure, a kind of an informed mind in decision making, and which will help us to able to achieve development in all sorts of society. Now let's back to the question you asked, talking about the governance in all areas. You know, the governors, like what that man said the other time, he has able to paint it in a very clear form for us to understand. The governors are the major stakeholders in this country. They are like emperor, because they do two things. One, they control their own local government. Two, they determine who become president. Are you with me, sir? They determine who runs their local government, and they determine who become president. And that's why the president cannot try to malign them. The president cannot malign them. The president cannot override them. They have to balance this relationship with him, at least in a way to promote justice, to promote equity, and at the same time also ensure they are accountable. And that means you are in a, they are politicians, and the politicians want to also be in a good book of
let me come with this idea. Do you know Nigerians? I need to pause your mic. Every time you don't talk, I hear some noise. Okay. Do you know many Nigerians, if you tell them today that each governor in their own state have more power than the president in that state, do you know they hear that as fallacy? Like, it's impossible. Because the way they think it works is that the governor is a subject. I'll let you go ahead.
It might be in paper. There are two ways, have a practical, we have a theory. But in practical, the governors are the emperor. They are the alpha and the omegas of what happened in the country. I think I remember a situation under Buhari then, like the APC governor had an issue among themselves, and they summoned Oshomole. They told Oshomole clearly, we determine run this country. They told him clearly then. But that's when he was removed as a chairman of APC. They know this thing by themselves, and that's why they are also exerting that power in other ramifications. Now, I saw a video from what happened in your state. One of the chairman was interviewed, I think Shaki West. This Shaki West, Shaki East, in your state. He said he's loyal to the governor. That he's loyal to the state.
Going against the local government autonomous.
Yes. He said because they were asking, what do you views about the issue of the local government autonomy, that the state governors are no, because there's the state version of the.
Hold on. Let me play that video quickly. Hold on, dear boy. Let me roll that video quickly. The video you are referencing. So that is local government chairman.
I get it. Kò sí nǹkan tó ṣe lára Supreme Court judgement. Ṣé get it? Àwọn ọ̀gá wa tó ní àwọn ṣe àgànmọ̀, ó ní nǹkan tí wọ́n rí. I get it. And since I'm under the umbrella of the state governor, ó jẹ́ aláṣẹ wa. Ó náà ní nǹkan táwọn fẹ́ ṣe nìyẹn. I get it. I have to abide by it.
I have to.
And I've said it once again. Supreme Court judgment is a case between the federal government and all the states of the federation. You hear what I'm saying? Federal government versus 36 states of the federation. And they pass their judgment. It's not a Supreme Court judgment against the federal government and AGON. AGON is not known to law. AGON is not known to law. I can't imagine a bricklayer. I'm going to say a bricklayer. I know what I'm saying. Okay. I'm a politician.
Just to explain quickly what he just said there.
This question you have
for to ask me. Those or your state's local governments who disassociated themselves from Afghan. That is not binding. That is not binding at all. It has no legal ramification to it. That autonomous still stands for every local government in all your state. Look, maybe I'm not putting it right. I will let the political analyst say something about it. Go ahead.
Now, when you look at it now, it gives an idea of how the governors are operating. Even the state assembly, who's supposed to be a checks to their activities, they are also powerless. They are not become an arm of the governor's office. And I tell you
governors
that
are more or less authoritarians.
The governors have become an emperor in their own territory, where he does no wrong. He is becomes an unquestionable person, and this is what, and that's the issues where people need to wake up to
and address,
and ask questions. Okay, we were told this amount you collected. What have you used this money to do? We don't have good road. We don't have good schools. Everything is so. We don't have good educational policies. Why are we in this state? I think with this, they will be able to put them on spotlight. You can be able to challenge them. Because if people collectively challenge them, then you see they are going to have a lot of changes. At the same time, it might also lead to political chaos too, because the governors, and this is the reason why the idea of a police state, state police, are always
it's nonsensical.
Because they will always deploy it against their political level.
The federal government.
And these are the reasons whereby the people need to look at this scenario that we are looking at now. Look at government. Let me tell you, every arms of government draw their power from the Constitution. Every arms of government, I'm talking about the levels of government, federal, state, and the local government. Their power is derived from the Constitution. That means no one supports one another. No one can usurp other people's power. Now, because of the
hold on.
political leaders.
Sorry, J boys, let me come here. Is it a coincidence that right after the federal government took the state government to the court and won the case for the local government autonomous, right after that, these protests happen? Is it also a coincidence that this same protest is asking for the return of the subsidy? Are all that coincidence? You can tell clearly that these governors are becoming something else in Nigeria. And they enjoy doing it, as in trampling upon the rights of Nigerians, simply because Nigerians focus on the wrong targets. These governors love the idea that Nigerians focus on the federal government or Tinubu. That gives them all the freedom they need to do whatever. And all of them, almost all of them now are trampling like authoritarians in their state. As a matter of fact, what the president of the nation cannot do or is not doing is what most of them are doing.
You are right. But let me try chip in there concerning the protest. You know, the president is just a mere coincidence. Because what even led to this protest, people don't understand is what happened in Kenya that also orchestrated this protest in Nigeria. Because there were a lot of strolling of Nigerians on social medias. And that's what also prompted, okay, you are, because those ones from the Kenya and the youth are saying Nigeria are too docile. When you did your own, nothing was, look at how we did our own, and that's when they also orchestrated this 2 or 2 in Nigeria, yeah. And that make it coincident. And unfortunately, that's where that the protest has no plan, and that's why the protest failed. It has no plan. They are only trying to do what others did. It was contagious issues, and that's why the protest failed. You can see it has failed woefully now, totally, because nothing specific was achieved out of the protest. But now, that the political opponents only try to exploit that protest to enhance their popularity, to make them be in the good book of the people. That's all. Like Peter Obi and Co, Atiku and Co, they are only trying to exploit that to increase their rating in the mind of people that they can do better. And that's what you do. I when you now look at it, who is better between all of them? But that's when it comes to 2007 general election. Let's leave that for that one. But the issue now is that people need to trying to size up their governors, trying to put them on the spot, trying to ask questions. And people they also try to get involved in the administration of their own local government environment. Ask your chairman questions. You don't need to ask for peanut or give me 10,000, give after. No. We need good road, we need good schools, we need good hospitals. These are the things that can enhance the quality of life of people. No one 2 Congo of rice that after 2 weeks is done. And then you now have your kids that is sick. Where do you take it to? Instead of the local government maternity centers are not being kept. The workers there are not coming on a regular basis. You don't have doctors, yes. And these are the things we need to do what? Challenge them for. I think there's a need for us to erase this mentality of biased loyalty to our leaders. Because it's a Christian, because it's a town man. No, we need to ask questions. We need to demand governance, quality governance from them. Not because of us alone, because of unborn generation. Because what you do today, we also reflect what will happen tomorrow. We are celebrating our world today now because of the education that it gave to us. Now, and that legacy is still lingering on because we are not the product of that education. Because then he has given us exposed us to that level, to that the quality, the good inherent in that policies. And people that have followed him are also building on that. I think these are the things we as an individual, commoners in our local environment to ask questions. The governors has a role to play. I think I remember when you were speaking about hunger. Now, who owns the land? State governors owns the land. They decide who they give land to. You own the land, and the land is being used for agriculture, and you can't do that agriculture. And you are now blame somebody from not doing your own duty. It's just like a father in the house blaming the mother that the kids are not respecting him. You know, it sounds somehow, it's very controversial in nature. And that's why we all of us, we need to ask questions, because every tiers of government has their basic responsibilities. And when I look at that,
all hands should be on deck.
There are 3 in nature. We have what we call exclusive, and that one is only for the federal government alone, central government. It talks about the aviation, it talks about the military, it talks about the CBN, meeting our money, it talks about police. Those are exclusive. And when you look all those things I mentioned, They are not a developmental ministries. They are not developmental. It's just for the protection of the country. But when you look at the developmental, it's also what is now for the both federal and state agriculture. And that's why now you let me ask you a question. Let me tell you for fact. I only know of a Niger state that has good agricultural program recently. The rest are nothing. Because the guy is because they are the largest land in the whole countries, and the guy bought more than up to 1,000 tractors. He said he's going to supply food to the whole country, and he's going to crash the price of goods, and that's a good idea. But now ask every other state, like my own state from Ekiti, where I came from, Ondo State, Osun State, Ogun
Everybody
State.
has to embark on this.
You know, the template we need to deploy to ensure we have food sufficiencies. Some people say open border, open border. Sometimes I now look, those people that are bringing food from, some of them are not as big as quarter of this country. And yet they are feeding us. Look at Israel today. Israel is not as big as Ondo State. But look at the numbers of food they are producing. It's a shame on us for us to be shouting on the top of our voice that bringing food, open border, open border. It's an insult to tell that we are lazy. And these are the fault of the governors. Because the governors need to drive this development in their own domain. Encourage people. Give them incentives. Give them plan. Come with a good planning. And trying to keep people into all this planning. We are going to have enough to eat. And we are going to export as well. And that will give us what? Foreign exchange. You also increase our GDP. And these are the issues that the governors need to do. They need to up and doing in discharging their basic responsibility effectively. And that's how we can able to accelerate development in our country. If you expect a president that does not know anywhere except Lagos, Abuja, and some capital states to come, because the government will come and do things that the government is supposed to do, to tie your local government area, to build schools in your own area. Look at even education too. I tell people to know. Only thing federal government does is to create policies. But the rest of the job is at the state hand. Because one, both primary school and secondary school are controlled by state government. It's only tertiary education that federal government has what control over, and it's not total. Because
It's
the state
not.
also has their own.
So, all right, on that note, J-Boy. On that note, J-Boy, I would like to top the show here. And thank you for showing up today. I really appreciate it. And very knowledgeable analysis there, as usual. And for some of us, we introduced J-Boy again. He's our political analyst on the OGM News and a columnist as well. So I hope I will see you in the future when I need help with some of these political analysis. So we overstayed today on this show, and it's necessary, and thankfully it is informative. There's something coming in from your mic. Thankfully, it is necessary and it is informative. And I thank you, listeners, for being with us throughout. Look, enough is said. Enough is said. That look, if we want changes, we need to understand how our government works. And you cannot ask for a wholesale change of the government parastatal. It is impossible. Omoyele Showore, let me give you an idea. Revolution now sounds good, but let's know what it is, what this is about. Okay? Do not ask for a wholesale government change when you haven't accomplished any goal with your vendetta. Since you have become an activist, you have never really accomplished anything substantial. So stop jumping from a very analyzed, targeted goal, simple one, and jump into a whole-scale goal that you can't even accomplish. We like to dream, but we don't like to daydream. Narrow it down. Let people understand what you are about and what the goal is specifically about. And when it comes to politics, rather than you just sitting down in America or in UK or wherever you are, come down to Nigeria. Lead your agitations and protests. Not only that, this political ambition of yours, pursue it from the grassroots. Let people in Ondo State know who you are before you start proclaiming yourself over Nigeria. Peter Obi was known from his locality in Anambra State. Atiku Abubakar is much known from his locality in Nasarawa. Let alone Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who no one in Lagos State can deny who he is. Start from the grassroots in Ondo State before you think in your small brain that you have actually accomplished a status that can make you, a tiny ant, become a president in Nigeria. This is not vendetta between me and you, okay? I'm insignificant. I'm nobody. But I'm just saying, before you would think that you have arrived up to a certain stage, take with all authority the vote of Nigerians. Go and dominate Ondo State first. I know that. But I'm just saying, start from that grassroots first. Try and run for the chairman of your local government. Never think you are bigger than that, because every time you think you are bigger than that, you are even worse than these leaders we are trying to fight off. Every time you think in your small head that you are bigger than the chairman of a local government in your locality, you are not different from these pompous and proud politicians we are trying to fight off. Didn't you just say in the previous interview that I played that you want to brag? And you're bragging? They're bragging that simply because you are a presidential candidate, you think you are better off a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. How deluded can you be to think that? Simply because you have money to buy form, become a presidential candidate. And suddenly, that puts you on a higher hierarchy than a chairman of a local government, let alone a senator of the country. Buffoon there. Go back to your locality in Ondo State and start your political ambition from the grassroots. Do something in that locality so that we can see that you are capable. Yeah, a lot of people are challenging you about experience. I don't believe in that. But now that you have failed twice as a presidential candidate, go and start from that level. And then we begin to take you serious. But Salah Blue, I can always assure you one thing. Why you ready? Why don't you answer Ondo State? Why you po? Why you po? Ta ló rò pé ó jẹ́ náà tó rò pé ọmọ ẹ̀ nìkan ta ló mọ̀ ẹ̀ wo máa bá ẹ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni anywhere àti Ondo State àti Lagos State àti anywhere máa bá ẹ bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n á yẹ̀yẹ́ epo ń bẹ̀ lọ try local government chairman, go and try the local government chairman of your locality in Ondo State. Let's see if you will be able to win that local government. If you can win that local government, I will sell all my assets and send it to you. Yeah. And he thinks he have all the status to win presidency in Nigeria. Suddenly, because he was able to bought presidential form with people's money, and he has arrived. He is better than a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. ìkọjá yìí yóò blame ẹ ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń follow ẹ tẹ́ ń lówó ẹ̀yin ni mo bá wí àwọn dọmí keep giving him his money, your money, keep donating advanced modern day 419 wọ́n burú ju yahoo lọ gbáwèrè wọlé ṣe púpọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín ni keep giving it to him. I'm getting out of here. Okay, today's show is fantastic, and I love the contribution of my political analyst, J-Boy, from Nigeria. Thank you very much for your contribution, and I will make sure I hit you up in the future so that you can clear things up on this show. Well, this is Cold Blue in Nigeria. This is Sala Blue, and this is OGM News. Please, guys, subscribe to us on YouTube, OGM News Nigeria, and subscribe to us on all your social media. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, or on X, as they call it now, on TikTok. We are all over the place. Where Sala Blue 2 is on Twitter, and Sala Blue is on TikTok, and I'm on Facebook. You can always follow me too. Don't call yourself fans. I don't like fans. I'm nobody's fans, and I don't want everybody to be my fan. Okay? What I do here is to tell you the truth, nothing but the truth. I couldn't care less if you like it or not. If you don't care, I will thank you for listening, and I will still give you a middle finger. If you like it, I will thank you for listening, but I will also encourage you to do what is needful for you and your family. Don't let nobody delude you into following like zombie. Ask questions, especially from your leaders. Let them be able to be accountable to you. If you are interested in following anybody, challenge them. A true leader should always welcome challenge from the followers. Should never be afraid of questioning. Question their leadership. There's nothing wrong in that. Nigerians, we are all one. We are all one, not just because we are all one in love. We are all one because we are supposed to be equal under the law. Either you be billionaire or you are not. Whether you be politician or you are just a regular man. Whether you are man in uniform or you are a civilian. We are equal under the law. Do not allow anyone to push you around. And if you are that kind of Nigerian that bullies the other, that want to beat your chest and ask people, do you know who I be? You are a terrible person. You are nothing but that. You are nothing special. No matter how the pedestal you think you're sitting down, you're just a regular Nigerian, just like me. And that Yalatara, Mesuya, Meti, we are all in the same banquet of equality. We are no better than any human being. God created every one of us the same way. And so treat each other with the same level of respect that you desire to be treated. Sala Blue signing off, and I will see you in the gym.
Code Blue. Sala Blue, where you dead now? Where you
The country is in a disaster.
Emergency. The country is in the disaster.
Who they rule this country?
I tell you, stop worshiping the politicians. They are all liars.
What are you talking about? Which politicians are liars?
All of them. Obi is a liar. Tinubu is corrupt. Atiku is very with you. All of them, okay?
Don't argue with me. This is my show, okay? This is my show. Allow anybody to defend my show. This is my show, okay? You can get the heck out of this room. This is my show. Get the heck out of this room.
I am saying it categorically. All of them are liars. All of them are thieves.